right, 5H.
Okay. All right, so this report is coming forward following a notice of motion presented by Councillor Wilson on June 9th. The motion raised concerns about Cochrane's involvement in ICLEI and the FCM Partners for Climate Protection PCP program, noting that some past initiatives were linked to previous participation. It also emphasized the importance of prioritizing local decision-making and ensuring that externally influenced initiatives align with Cochrane's priorities and community needs. On June 23rd, Council directed administration to bring this topic to the Environmental Task Force for input. At its meeting on August 25th, the task force acknowledged that decisions on memberships fall outside its mandate, but suggested that Council may wish to consider maintaining the PCP membership to preserve access to planning tools, data, and potential future funding opportunities. Cochrane joined the PCP program in 2004 through a council resolution and subsequently completed milestones 1, 2, and 3 for both the corporate and community sectors, including developing an energy consumption reduction plan in 2007. While the town remains listed as a PCP member, there are no active projects, reporting obligations, or costs associated with this membership. On July 28th, administration confirmed Cochrane is not a member of ICLEI. Currently, there are existing practices in place that provide council with oversight on initiatives of this nature. When potential grant applications, funding agreements, or multi-year commitments arise, they are brought to council for consideration before decisions are made. This evening, administration is recommending that council maintain the current PCP membership and direct administration to prepare a draft policy establishing clear and transparent guidelines for evaluating participation in external initiatives going forward. This approach maintains council's authority and oversight while providing flexibility to revisit these memberships in the future if desired. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, as is our practice, Councillor Wilson, this generated from your notice of motion, so why don't you open us up with debate?
Sure. I don't think it'll take long from my standpoint. I agree with administration's decision to go ahead and come up with frameworks for future considerations for external governing bodies and their association with Cochrane Town Council. The only place I disagree is that I think we should be removed from the climate protection program because that was not voted by a elected body here. We joined it administratively, is my knowledge, and I would like to be removed from it until council itself decides to vote to join in for it. But it appears we're only talking about one program at this point, so if I'm reading that right. And so I don't need to drag this on too long tonight, but I would be in support of the framework and not in support of continuing our participation in the PCP program that I outlined during my notice of motion originally, that I felt that the strings attached to programs like that that are externally driven are often quite costly, and you don't see them coming until you're well down the line. And I brought up examples of that. My biggest example were the electric charging stations and what that ended up costing Cochrane taxpayers at the time through a program that I don't think was electedly chosen. So that was the genesis of this entire notice of motion. I think we should withdraw ourselves from that program, but otherwise, outside of that, I don't know if that would take an amendment, but outside of that, I agree with the framework itself.
There's no motion on the floor, so you can put forward whatever.
Okay.
If I may, just before you proceed, Michelle, could you just confirm that participation in the program was through a council resolution? I believe that was something
That
you
is
mentioned
correct.
before.
April 2004, council put forward a resolution.
Oh, excellent. Okay, I stand corrected. Then I'm heartened to hear that actually. That was 2004 is way before my purview or time. I would still, to give it a clean sweep and allow this new framework to take place, I would still recommend that we remove ourselves from that program. But it's a small ask. We'll see what the table thinks, and otherwise I agree with making sure that we're very transparent about what we're participating in from external organizations and where they're leading us in the future.
So a motion.
So my motion would be, I suppose, if I can encapsulate that, to remove ourselves from that one particular program until council in the future, if they decide to re-engage, that's up to them, but to remove ourselves for now and to proceed with administration's, was it called a framework?
Yeah.
Okay, to proceed with the framework.
The council remove membership from PCP program and direct administration to prepare a draft policy establishing clear guidelines for evaluating participation in externally influenced initiatives.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, that's perfect, yes.
Okay, so that's the motion on the floor. Councillor Federico?
I just have one question. How long would it take to develop the framework? Obviously, just as an estimate.
Through the chair to Councillor Federico, I believe that would land actually outside of my department, so I don't want to speak to a timeline, but maybe Mr. Derricott might.
Yeah, thank you. If you, through the chair, I would suggest that would likely be an activity undertaken by our legislative services group, and I have not had that dialogue around timing. I would be comfortable to say that it could be accomplished, by Q2 of 2026 and balanced with other priorities and workloads that group may have, which will also, again, be evaluated by new council in the fall. With respect to that prioritization, it's certainly a program that could fall into 2026.
Okay, perfect. I was just curious because I know sometimes our frameworks end up being a little long in the tooth, and pretty soon, it's 3 years out and we don't have the framework yet. So I support Councillor Wilson in his motion on the floor. So yeah, I just hope the framework comes sooner than later so that it does give that new council framework to work around if they choose to join.
Thank you.
Councillor Reid?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I too support the motion on the floor, and in particular as it relates to PCP and some of the rhetoric that organization has put out in the past as it relates to our community. And so I'm happy to support this motion.
Councillor Flowers?
I can't really understand the reason for canceling the membership. I don't see a good reason. And I would hate to see us miss out on some grant funding that's available just because we don't get the information, so I can't vote for it.
Councillor Nagel?
I'm not feeling super informed about this whole discussion. Could I ask Councillor Reid, you said something about rhetoric about our community. Can you please clarify what you meant by that?
Councillor Reid?
Yeah, Patrick Wilson, or Councillor Wilson can probably better speak to this than I, but it has to do with climate change.
Councillor Nagel?
Has this group insulted Cochrane or something like that? That's what your comment sounded like.
Councillor Reid?
So there's imposition in terms of that organization implying that there are climate change issues that would affect our community indirectly, and I don't think that we should be party to that without having the opportunity of being able to understand what those implications are. I don't know, Patrick, you want to maybe add to that?
Councillor Nagel?
And is this program something that our staff are actively engaging in? I just went to the website right now. I see there's events every month or so. Do our staff attend these events to get informed about issues?
Through the chair to Councillor Nagel, not currently. No, we do not attend regular events.
Yeah, I'm struggling to see the reason to cancel it or the reason to even stay in it. So I don't know. It seems like it's just like an old dusty relic that has existed since 2004 and we totally forgot it even exists. So does anybody else have anything else to say to enlighten me further?
Maybe I can before you go, Councillor Wilson. My take on this one is that this isn't a problem that we really have. I understand and respect your position on this, Councillor Wilson, but from my standpoint, this was voted in by an elected body. Council, and I don't think we actually need a policy establishing clear guidelines. While I think that might be helpful, I don't think it's a priority given the capacity and the workloads and the priorities of everything else this community needs. So I'm not in favor of either. The one thing that bothers me the most about this was when this came forward, I started getting lobbied fairly hard by an external body utilizing Cochrane as an example of a community that was now doing something. And it took us on the national stage for a while there that I thought was in a fairly negative manner. So I didn't appreciate that. I mean, I guess that's up to everyone and that's part of our jobs, but I don't like the precedents that this sets. And I'm not here advocating for PCP program, to be honest. I don't know a whole lot about it other than The FCM platform in which it exists seems to be a solid one for municipalities across the country. And if it has, as Councillor Flowers suggested, avenues for grant funding for us, and no strings really attached from what I can understand from administration, doesn't cost us anything right now. We're not actively engaged in it. I see this as really a big nothing burger, I guess. So that for me, I think we should just leave well enough alone. And if council wants to join one of these or come out of one of these in the future, we can vote, or that council can vote at that at any time. So from my standpoint, I think we should just defeat the motion on the floor and move on. But seems to have generated a few comments. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you. I'll take a quick stab at it just to help Councillor Nagel for your benefit of why this matters and why we're even talking about it. I think we've debated much larger issues tonight. I don't think this is, as the mayor pointed out, a top issue, but I think it is an issue. I've seen in the past that negative outcomes have nearly come to our community, in my opinion, and have from associations with partnerships like this. And the main one that came to mind was our electric charging stations. And most of my information I got was from our delegation that came before us, so I don't have a lot more than you people around the table have, but what was presented to us then was that because we were in partnership with the Climate Protection Program, we were led down a funding path that was at least made administration at the time and council think that we were going to get grant funding for electric charging stations, and in the end, we didn't get the grant funds, but we committed ourselves so far down the line of planning for these things that we just ended up installing them on taxpayers' expense. And that's a perfect example of why being part of these programs that we haven't cognitively signed up for, that don't align with our values, can end up in bad decisions. And I think we got perilously close to electric buses as well during this program. That also scares me in a climate that goes to -30 every winter. So I think they can have negative consequences, even though I haven't seen any in at least the last 4 years of my term here. And so I'm not suggesting that this is a top drawer issue, but for me, it's enough of one that I think it should be removed until a council decides that this should be that climate change and spending money, municipal taxpayer funds on climate change projects should be a top goal for a future council. So that's why I think it matters. I hope that fills in some gaps. That's all I know.
Councillor McFadden, what do you think?
So I would need some clarity. What is an externally influenced initiative? Because on the political side, we belong to FCM and we belong to Alberta Municipalities Association. I believe our staff professionally belong to all sorts of associations. I believe we belong to the Calgary Regional Airshed, which I don't think we're actually overly participating in. So I feel that we belong to a number of associations and groups professionally, and it'll always be up to our administrative leadership and council, if it's reaching kind of a political level, to decide how far to engage in these initiatives. So I have to confess, I've never really been able to understand the concern with this. And so by and large, my preference would be option 3, is to take no action and continue with the existing processes. I think to have future councils having to make a decision about what, if our engineers belong to an engineering association, that doesn't seem strategic to me. So yeah, respectfully, I've never really been able to understand the concern around this one. I've made a point of listening respectfully, but at the end of the day, I think option 3 is probably where we should land on this one.
Councillor Nagel, right in the middle of the swing vote.
That's right. Power seat. So is it true that this group is the reason we almost got electric buses? Is that a fact?
Can I
Anyone from
provide some
administration?
clarity?
Sure, thank you.
Sure. So through the chair to Councillor Nagel, the funding to do the electric bus study was provided through the grant. However, when they brought forward the results of the study, they recommended that we did not move forward with electric buses.
And then we voted on that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that makes it even, okay, that makes it a little bit of an interesting mental gymnastic, because I remember that study said that the electric buses were a terrible idea. They were more expensive and the emissions were higher than the gas buses.
That's what they said.
So, but that actually gave us clearly unbiased information, because this environmental projects that actually just stick with good old gasoline. So I'm supporting PCP, I guess. Sorry. But
If I may, I think it is noted, I think the policy piece of the framework is one that, and to Councillor McFadden's point, that would be really challenging. I think what we would be doing is just reinforcing what is good, normal, common practice, which is on a project basis or on a budgetary basis, administration comes forward to council and recommends action or non-action on those items as part of it. I think that would be one that we would need to have some dialogue as to what we were actually trying to accomplish. That could come post motion. If that's the direction, we'll certainly work with council to nail that down. But as it currently stands, I think it's pretty uncertain as to what the objective would be there.
Councillor Federico?
Can I just have one last point? Listening to everybody around the table, I kind of started to agree myself. I don't really know what the point is, but perhaps maybe if an item was coming forward from administration that might have some influence from PCP or some other external group, perhaps it could just be highlighted that, you know, this is either related to XYZ group or XYZ initiative, so that then council knows that there could be a tie to an external organization perhaps providing that knowledge. And maybe it was back in the day with the electric buses. I mean, I certainly don't remember, you know, that whole entire report. But I do kind of agree. I don't know what we're trying to solve. And I certainly, to Councillor McFadden's point, I don't want to get so granular that we're like in some department saying, you know, you can't belong to this organization or that. I think from what I got from Councillor Wilson, it'd be more at the council bench level of what council chooses to maybe engage in, not individuals. But honestly, I don't know if it's worth the fight. I'd rather just have it identified in a report that then we can make that decision then based on the information that we have.
Anything further to add, Councillor Wilson?
I have nothing more to add other than what you've heard from the presentation and the couple of examples I gave you. I don't think this is worth taking up any more time, and let's push it to a vote, I'd say.
Okay. All right, the motion is that council directs administration to remove or withdraw the membership, thank you, from the Partners of Climate Protection Program, and direct administration to prepare the draft policy establishing clear guidelines on evaluating participation in externally influenced initiatives. Okay, all those in favor of that? Those opposed? That is defeated. Councillor Flowers, you did get in on there at the end. Okay, thank you. Now we're moving on to 5I, ice surf